Здравствуйте! Мы рады снова приветствовать вас на нашем видеокурсе Legal English in Use and in Use. Как вы помните, в прошлый раз мы с вами начали изучать тему Common Law, и сегодня продолжаем ее. Common Law Systems History. Common Law – это система права, которая несет на себе глубокий отпечаток истории, которая до XVIII века была историей исключительно английского права. Прежде чем мы продолжим изучение данной темы, давайте с вами повторим то, что мы уже выучили в прошлый раз.
Welcome to the Investors Trading Academy Talking Glossary of Financial Terms and Events. Our word of the day is common law, the law of the land which comes from neither the statute books nor the constitution, but from the court law reports. Originally the body of law which was common to all parts of England, not customary or local law, and developed over centuries from the English courts to be adopted and further developed in countries using that system. As compared to democratically maintained law, common law is judged, maintained and modified law and is valid unless it conflicts with statute law. Common law, also known as case law or precedent, is law developed by judges, courts and similar tribunals, stated in decisions that nominally decide individual cases, but that in addition have precedential effect on future cases. The common law system prevails in England, the United States and other countries colonized by England. It is distinct from the civil law system which predominates in Europe and in areas colonized by France and Spain. The common law system is used in all states of the United States except Louisiana, where French civil law combined with English criminal law to form a hybrid system. The common law system is also used in Canada, except in the province of Quebec, where the French civil law system prevails.
Занятие номер 2. Второй курс, первый фрагмент. Тема Common Law Systems History. Exercise 1. Check your pronunciation. Authority, court, custom, clarify, to be bound, statute, to modify, to interpret.
Once more. Authority, court, custom, clarify, to be bound, statute, to modify, to interpret.
Exercise 2. Repeat after the teacher. Authority, court, custom, clarify, to be bound, statute, to modify, to interpret.
Once more. Authority, court, custom, clarify, to be bound, statute, to modify, to interpret.
Exercise 3. Repeat and remember the translation. Authority,
Полномочия, власть.
court,
Суд,
custom,
обычай.
clarify,
Разъяснять,
to be bound,
быть обязанным.
statute,
Статут,
to modify,
изменять,
to interpret.
толковать. Authority,
Полномочия, власть.
court,
Суд,
custom,
обычай.
clarify,
Разъяснять.
to be bound,
Быть обязанным.
statute,
Статут.
to modify,
Изменять.
to interpret.
Толковать. Exercise 4. Give your translation of the words. Authority, court, custom, clarify, to be bound, statute, to modify, to interpret.
Once again, authority, court, custom, clarify, to be bound, statute, to modify, to interpret.
Exercise 5. Give your translation of the words. Полномочия, власть. Суд. Обычай. Разъяснять. Быть обязанным. Статут. Изменять. Толковать.
Once again. Полномочия, власть. Суд. Обычай. Разъяснять. Быть обязанным. Статут. Изменять. Толковать.
Exercise 6. Let's practice. The Norman kings sent traveling judges around the country, and gradually a common law developed under the authority of 3 common law courts in London. By this principle, judges attempted to apply existing customs and laws to each new case, rather than looking to the government to write new laws. Law was administered by local courts, and no law was common for the whole kingdom. Sometimes governments make new laws, statutes, to modify or clarify the common law. Courts are bound by the decisions of the previous courts unless it can be shown that facts differ from previous cases. Statutes often need to be interpreted by the courts in order to fit particular cases. As the Lord Chancellor's Court became more willing to modify existing common law in order to solve disputes, a new system of law developed alongside the common law.
Once more, the Norman kings sent traveling judges around the country, and gradually a common law developed under the authority of 3 common law courts in London. By this principle, judges attempted to apply existing customs and laws to each new case, rather than looking to the government to write new laws. Law was administered by local courts, and no law was common for the whole kingdom. Sometimes governments make new laws, statutes, to modify or clarify the common law. Courts are bound by the decisions of previous courts, unless it can be shown that facts differ from previous cases. Statutes often need to be interpreted by the courts in order to the particular cases. As the Lord Chancellor's Court became more willing to modify existing common law in order to solve disputes, a new system of law developed alongside the common law.
Как мы уже упоминали ранее, общее право распространено на территории Соединенных Штатов Америки. Поэтому сейчас мы предлагаем вашему вниманию фрагмент о развитии общего права на территории США. See you next time.
So where does law come from? In America, our law system came from Great Britain. The settlers of the original 13 colonies came from Europe, and they brought with them their own set of rules and principles to be used in their new society. The English common law was the system of law in England at that time, and was quickly adopted throughout the colonies. The English common law is rooted in centuries of English history. Much of the common law was formed in the years between the Norman conquest of England in the early 11th century and the settlement of the American colonies in the early 17th century. The English common law is based on a cultural system of settling disputes through local custom. The early tribes of England each held their own set of customs. But this system became increasingly formalized as those early tribal peoples came together and organized. These ancient customs are the basic principles that eventually became part of the American system of justice. Under English common law, disputes between two parties were handled on a case-by-case basis. However, the decision-maker did not act without guidance. The decision-maker was required to look to similar, previously decided cases and use those established guidelines and traditions. The customs of England were built upon and expanded for centuries, all through court decisions. By carrying forward and preserving these customs, the courts assured that the law was truly common to all. For example, imagine that Smith and Jones own land adjacent to one another. Smith intends to build a barn on his own land, near his border with Jones. However, Smith inadvertently builds his barn on Jones's land. Jones claims ownership of the barn, and the two end up arguing their positions in court. Let's say the court decides that Smith owns the barn that he built, and he now also owns that small portion of land that the barn occupies. This would now be the rule, to be applied for all of those cases coming after Smith and Jones. From that moment forward, all landowners must be careful not to allow others to build permanent fixtures on their land. Otherwise, the rule now states, they could lose ownership of that portion of their land. Scenarios like this created a gradual development of an extensive system of laws, even though these rules were mostly unwritten at that time.